everybody, and welcome to Into the Weeds podcast here on Military Broadcast Radio. I'm Amber.
And I'm Laura.
And today we are going to be building upon our last episode about Gypsy Rose when we spoke to Flawless Nina. And we're going to get into the meat and the potatoes of the case. And we're here with Fancy Maselli from the Good Wives Network and Sarah. And thank you, ladies, for joining us today.
Thank you for having us. It's very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you guys too.
Thank you for your service. I just want to say that right at the beginning. I come from a family. I have lots of military members in my family. My ex-husband was in the Marine Corps, and currently my son, who just had his birthday on the 18th, and he is in the Navy and currently stationed in Japan.
Awesome.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for his service.
I served, and also my whole family did too. So very, very much. Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you for yours as well.
I was Air Force. Grandpa was Air Force. Daddy was Army. So yeah.
Army.
Okay. Yeah, my husband and I were both in the Army, and both of our family have been in the service in all kinds of branches. So
yeah, and then my birth family my birth family that I just met, they have they're all like, both of their daughters have graduated from like one of the military academies, and they're going through, I mean, it's been nice. It's really neat watching them. They're young ladies in the military currently, and it's amazing. So thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, it's definitely an adventure.
Well, I actually lost, I have, like I said, I have lots of family members in the military, and I actually lost my nephew when he was 29 years old. And he is buried at Arlington. And so now this has even, it's a more special meaning to me than it was before either, because when they say some lose, some give all, and, some give all, and that's exactly what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I believe Memorial Day is going to be this week, right? Or maybe right before this episode airs.
Yeah. Isn't it the 25th or so?
20th.
Right.
Yes. I think it's the
27th, I think.
Something. Close enough.
Anyway. Okay. So,
let's get into it.
Yeah. So I would like for you ladies to just please tell us who you are, what the Good Wives Network is, and why you're interested in this case, and we'll go from there.
Okay, so I own the Good Wives Network. It is my company. I own that along with my co-host, beside not Sarah, but my co-host Colleen, and then my daughter. And our other partner passed away in February of 2023. That was our beloved Christina. And so we came to this case 8 years ago now. This is our 8th year working on this case. At the time, I was a small producer. We were working on a YouTube channel. We were doing some indie filming of stuff. And this case fell in my lap. And I started looking at it and thinking, oh, it'd be a really cool project. I'd love to do a scripted series on this, because that was kind of what I was doing at the time. And I started trying to do research, and I ended up running into a Facebook group that had Gypsy Blanchard in it. And everybody in the group was heavily bashing her, and I could not figure it out. Like, all the research, I was like, but it's the mom. It's not... What? I don't. She wasn't even there. I don't understand. So I reached out to Gypsy through a Facebook message. I didn't really think she'd message me back. I thought she got probably hundreds of them a day, so I wasn't like, and shockingly she did. I did not realize how involved Gypsy Blanchard is with social media, because it is how she has managed to manipulate the story that we know right now. But she messaged me back. We began to talk, and she told me that she was still under contract with HBO for 6 months, so she couldn't officially do anything. And I said, oh, I'm patient. I'll wait. And so we formed a friendship over those 6 months. And then once they were released, my daughter, Sarah, and I And she has never spoken publicly on her experience. We both went down there. We spent a while down in I think it was either 4 or 5 days. We could have been there a whole week. I don't remember. It's been so long. But we went down, we met Christy Blanchard, Rod Blanchard, their whole family. We met the Petrie family. So the first time that anybody is going to hear from that Sarah, Sarah Sands, will be in our book that comes out on May 30th.
Okay. I'm looking forward to it.
We'll have
So
to pick
that's
that
how
up.
I got started. I got started on this case. I was very pro Gypsy.
Mhm.
You know, and I had no idea what I was doing. I was just a small time producer. I did not have, you know, big things under my belt and everything. I basically just offered them, I don't know what I can do with this, but whatever I do with it, I'll give you half of whatever I freaking make, you know,
Mhm.
and then we'll go from there. So we signed some life rights. We decided to do a project and we began working on that. Every roadblock was thrown to us in the way. And then as I went through, you know, they had other projects they had worked on with other documentarians, but none of those people bothered to look as deeply and question as far as our team went. And when we
Mhm.
began to ask questions, it all fell apart, you know, and we had an
Mhm.
epic falling out with them. We've had media all over it for back and forth with us. We've been stalked, we've been harassed, whatever. Well, after we
Mhm.
did the podcast in 2019, where we did the first season of this, was 13 episodes dedicated to Gypsy Rose and our investigation and what we knew. We really
Mhm.
kind of walked away, laid the case down. We were working on other projects. We had always had an idea that we were still going to come back to it, but we ended up launching an entire network. We
Okay.
were on Roku, Amazon, Android, Apple for over a year, as we worked with a bunch of other podcasters and content creators. And the Good
Mhm.
Wives Network is heavily focused on content for women,
Yeah.
enlightening, inspiring, empowering, educating women of all walks of life. You know, that is kind of what we're trying to do. We'll branch off into other things as we grow, but originally that was what the Good Wives Network was supposed to be. It wasn't supposed to be the Gypsy freaking channel, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Okay. We built a whole other company. Colleen and I and Christina worked very hard to build a whole other company. We really established ourselves in the true crime entertainment industry, you know,
Mhm.
and so that's where we came into this case. And we became the leading experts on it. You know, now Colleen spent 8 years getting all the medical records together and figuring all of that out, and she got a master's degree in that period of time. I went back to school.
Mhm.
I'm working on my forensic psychology degree. I'm finishing up my last year, for
That's
us to better
awesome.
understand this
Great.
story. So that's
Mhm.
really how we came to it, and that's where our knowledge comes from. You know, Colleen holds a master's degree in nursing education.
Mhm.
She is who found the chromosome disorder with inside of Gypsy's records that really
Mhm.
only happened a month and a half ago and changed this whole case again. So that's
Okay.
the long story short version, I guess.
Okay. Okay. And Sarah, what about yourself?
I have a bachelor's degree in radio and television with a specialization in sales and advertising, a degree in marketing.
Okay.
Okay.
And I decided I was going to go into law school. So I did pre-law media law studies and
Oh.
then decided, I'm going to wait till my kids get a little bit older and then I'll go back to law school. And you know
Mhm.
how that happens. Life
Yeah.
happens, and then you don't get back into it. And I was, just like the general public, just getting bits and pieces on the news about the Gypsy case, over the last 8 years. And well, a little bit more since, 2015, since the arrest. And,
Right.
I was very sympathetic to her, and her
Mhm.
plight is what I, saw that was playing out into the media, which was exactly what they wanted.
Mhm.
So I was a Gypsy supporter until the beginning of this year. And then once the evidence was released and the evidence photos and the police reports and the full interrogation videos, I was just stunned. And it was not something that I was really that interested in, because I host panel discussion shows and I like to do a lot of work focused on the entertainment industry. So I'm not really a true crime junkie, so they say, and but I saw all these pieces that did not fit together. And I had no idea who to take it to, but I had a theory, and I started looking on TikTok for different creators that were covering the Gypsy case. And I spent a couple days looking at the different creators, and I came to the realization that Fancy should be the one that I give this theory to. And I felt like it was not my story to tell. I felt like it was her story to tell. And so I sent her a message, and I said, it's hilarious. I said, hey, I know you may think I'm crazy, but I'm not. Well, LOL. I know that's a great way to start out a letter, right? But
we all do that.
This is what I have found. And here are all the bulletin points for the reasons why I believe this. And I would like to know what your opinion is. And a few hours later, I got a message back from her saying, oh my God, I think you're right. And from that point on, we ended up forming a friendship, and then we began working together. And so since that point in January, I've been helping her with writing and researching and co-hosting and public relations, marketing, all of that good stuff that I really enjoy. And I mean, we spend a lot of time together. Every day we are talking about a project or working on a project. But I just have to say that, yes, my opinion on Gypsy Rose has changed 1000%. Once you see the evidence, once you see the truth, once you see the lies and the deception and the manipulation, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm trying to talk really fast because I see you guys are getting ready to hit your 15-minute mark.
No, don't worry about it. Go ahead.
Don't you worry.
Okay, because I didn't know. You said you had to stop every 15
Well,
minutes. So.
Yeah, I
15
do.
or so. But
Okay, I didn't want to get anybody in trouble here, so I was like,
Well,
me just-
why don't we just go to our break now? Because I have been told that some of my listeners out there
need a potty break.
Understandable.
So we're gonna go do that right now, and guys, keep watching, keep listening, and we'll come back and talk more about what's going on.
More to come.
See you in a second.
See you in a
Thank
bit.
you. You did the
All right, here we go. Window daydream numbs my mind. Turn on the lights. I'm still blind. Speed up, slow down. Wheels keep on spinning. I play the game. I'm not winning. I've been east, I've been west, I've been put to the test. I've been high, I've been low, I don't know where to go. I've been lost, I've been found, I've been spinning around. left to me now? Butterfly, broken soul, 500 miles from my home. Can you save me from this hell? Can you save me from myself? I've been east, I've been west, I've been put to the test. I've been high, I've been low, I don't know where to go. I've been lost, I've been found, I've been spinning around. Here's what's left of me now. I've been east, I've been west, I've been put to the test. I've been high, I've been low, I don't know where to go. I've been lost, I've been found, I've been spinning around. I've been east, I've been west, I've been put to the test. I've been high, I've been low, I don't know where to go. I've been lost, I've been found, I've been spinning around. Here's what's left of me now. What's left to me now?
Yeah, you ready?
Yeah, take
You guys
three.
ready?
Take
Ready?
three. Wait, are you ready?
Cade, you ready?
Hold on.
Yeah.
Alan, are you ready?
Alan,
Are you
you ready?
Alan! Alan!
Video guys ready.
Take three.
Sorry, we had a couple technical difficulties in the middle of that.
Oh,
No
I
problem.
really-
I love that song.
I love the lyrics.
Thank you. That was actually my cousin's husband, Cade Roth, in the Black Sheep, and he is a firefighter. I'm going to mute you, Sarah. Okay.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, hey, Sarah.
He's a firefighter in Oklahoma, and I thought that it would be a great opportunity to promote him as well.
I would love to get in contact with him. I like his music. We're looking for music for our shows and
Absolutely.
for our, yeah, definitely. I mean, I love that. Yeah, and I'm working on possibly recording a record. So how
Oh,
crazy is that, right?
Do you play any instruments or do you sing?
I sing and I write lyrics. I don't
Oh,
play.
awesome.
I want to learn to play mandolin, but I was a singer
Ooh.
all through, my I grew up as an actress, singer, dancer, you know, the whole thing. So
I love
the
that.
creative, talented, you know, the creative talent kid, you know, like, you know, just doing all the darn things. So
Mhm.
I also draw, and there's different things, like I went through school for fashion design and stuff. So yeah.
Oh, fashion design.
Sarah, why don't you try,
Yeah,
Sarah, honey, why don't you
absolutely.
try coming in and out again, because that helped last time when you did it on our show earlier.
Sure, I will. And I was
Yeah.
just gonna add with the I had said, you know, I have a lot of reverb on my mic, so I'll be just keeping myself muted most of the time. But yeah, I
Okay.
love the lyrics to that song. I actually haven't really talked to Fancy about this much because I haven't really talked about it to anyone. But I graduated high school with a full vocal music scholarship. I trained as a classically trained opera singer. I did opera, Broadway. I traveled the world. I sang for the Pope at the Vatican, with the
Wow.
Philharmonic, but I retired at 33.
Mhm.
So, you know,
Nice.
but I do hear, Fancy and I do have a lot of similarities where we will hear something and pick it up and be like, okay, there is something good there. Like we can feel it, you know, because we have that musical ear. But no, I don't, I was left with the decision, okay, you've got your scholarship now, you know, you're either going to be a music teacher or music therapy. And I did not want either one of those. So that's why I switched my major. But
Understandable.
anyway, well, I'm going to jump off and come back and see if that helps.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's, yeah.
Okay. So I wasn't sure how to pursue this whole thing.
Sure.
So not many people know what actually happened.
Right.
All they know is that Gypsy, with the assistance of Nick, killed her mother, and it was because of Munchausen by proxy. And
That's the story, that's the narrative you've been sold. Yes, you're correct.
yeah,
That is
and
what the popular story is, for sure.
and I got into this case only because my cousin is in Chillicothe prison for 25 years, and
Right, you were saying that.
yeah, and so I had been talking to her, and she told me about all the different people who she was incarcerated with, and Gypsy came up, and we had thought, oh, you know, how sad that all of that happened, and we need to pray for her, and that everything will be good for her, and she'll have a
Yes.
great life. And so that's how we started tackling it, and we were praying for her, and we're still praying for her. But uh and then Alora came and told me about Taylor Swift and how Gypsy wanted to go see Taylor Swift. And yeah, Alora's like, okay, I think that's, you know, regressing back.
A little
Yes,
weird, but
very
oh
much,
well.
very much. It's
Yeah.
all about patterns. Okay, so when you
Yes.
begin to look at this case with a critical eye, it becomes very clear what you're looking at, as long as you can realize the patterns
Mhm.
of behavior. And I'm sorry, my old dog, she's coughing in the background here. She sounds like a freaking parrot. I know, but
I thought it was a
yeah.
parrot.
Yeah, everybody thought I had a bird forever. They're like, "You have a bird?" I'm like, "No, it's my
No,
dog.
just an
She's
old
very
dog."
old, and she has cough problems." But yeah, I mean, you have to look at the patterns of behaviors. You have to look at the patterns of speech. It's all about what the little things. Because if you look at it with just a big picture, it looks like one thing.
Mhm.
What this is very layered in what it looks like, until you begin to take away all the noise and you
Mhm.
just look very detailed in, and you start looking at everything with a microscope. The answers are all there, folks. It's
Mhm.
just you've been led to believe this lie purposefully by the
Mhm.
media, by Gypsy herself, by Christy Blanchard, her stepmother. And the problem with it is it's all a lie. It's no more, it's no less of a lie than the lies that Dee Dee told. That's the
Mhm.
thing,
Yeah.
and that's where, when that lie finally, whatever it is, and for everyone it's different, I'll tell you. Everyone, I think everybody comes to this case positive pro Gypsy, and along
Mhm.
the way there's little things that you ignore, little things you go, oh yeah, okay, but da 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 da. You make
Yeah.
the excuses until there's something that literally smacks you and you go, oh. And as soon as you see that, have that, oh, that aha moment, and that veil just slips for 1 minute, then
Mm-hmm.
it's over, because you can never unsee it, and it goes in your brain and it just fucks with you. I
Yeah,
hope I can cuss, but I mean it
it's fine.
does. It just fucks with you. And
Mhm.
then it becomes that one thing in the back of your mind going, but wait,
Mhm.
and then that's when you start looking with a critical eye, and this becomes something completely different. And if you take
Mhm.
away all the things that Gypsy has told you to create noise, and you only look at what really happened the last year or two of her life with Dee Dee,
Mhm.
it becomes very clear what the actual event that took place on June 9th of 2015 is. But
Mhm.
if you keep yourself running around in the circles of the lies, yeah, it's easy to get lost in that and think that that's the truth, and it's not.
Okay,
Sorry, that's a
so
long answer, but yeah.
no,
It's a perfect answer, though.
yeah, and so can you just kind of walk us through the beginning, starting on June 9th, 2015? I know where I was. I was laying in bed with chronic migraines and couldn't get out of bed for 6 years, but
It was probably
You
just
know,
nice.
I
Oh
didn't
my
come I
goodness.
didn't I didn't come to the case really till 2017. But in 2015 on June 9th, the only thing we can be certain of is that a murder actually happened.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
know who the victim is. We
Mhm.
know who the master of the plan is,
Mhm.
and we know that based on that, and what we have been that has been publicly released to what everybody out there through the court systems and all of that, that the crime scene does not match the details of what we have been given about this case. So there
Mhm.
is all kinds of reasonable doubt here. That is where, really truthfully. So on June 9th, I think really to start in, if you're only looking at the murder and you want to put all the abuse aside, and I think that is honestly the way to start off with the murder, is if you
Mhm.
put the abuse claim aside and you just pretend you never heard that.
Mhm.
Sarah and I don't know if you know who Hello Starlight is. She has a
Yeah.
station. She put out just recently, she found the entire 30-minute or 25-minute press conference with Sheriff Arnott. Nobody
Yeah.
has seen that in years,
Mhm.
okay? I had never seen the whole one. I'd only seen clips. It's been gone. It's been archived for a long time, and she found it this last week. And
Mhm.
when you look at what the sheriff was looking at, and what the media, local media that was on scene when this broke,
Mhm.
this was the first press conference he did after their arrest.
Mhm.
Okay. And so um they they it's a 20-minute tell all, and it really sets the tone for where the case should have gone
Yes.
and what happened. Have you guys seen it?
I've seen bits and pieces of it. I haven't seen the whole
Okay.
thing.
No, you have to, and we have it on ours too, because we played it. What happened was, is she was playing this. She sent me a link to the live. I come into her live and I have no idea what she's talking about. I just pop in and I'm watching it and I'm like, well, that's Sheriff Arnott. That's interesting. I wonder what this is. And I was like, well,
Mhm.
clearly this isn't anything I've ever seen before. So I start listening to it, and I'd already hit the request to come up like I did here. Right. And I'm like, okay. And I'm watching this and I'm like, is this from 2015? Oh my God. I've never seen all this. So I pop into the box and I'm like, I'm all Starlight. What exactly are we watching, ma'am? Because I think this is from 2015. Am I correct? Because this isn't current, right? She goes, no. I'm like, oh my God. She goes, Fancy, you have no idea. We have hit a gold mine here. You need to watch this whole thing. So she sent it to me. I watched the rest of what she'd already played. She was 13 minutes into it, and I was like, Oh, wow. Because it shows a very clear picture that the media at the time were on the story of girl meets boy, boy and girl concoct a plan, and the fraud investigation, and fraud was the absolute 100% crux of this case. He did 20 minutes on this. It's on our YouTube. It's on Starlight's YouTube, and we're going to put it out in pieces on our TikTok and stuff. So,
And the media was right. The media they hit the note. They hit the nose on the head right there. They were, if you listen to it, every question is about fraud.
Yes,
They were leading in that direction, which was where the case should have gone.
And they were even going to reopen the robbery that had happened in April, where she had blamed the young lady down the street for the money that she stole. Another disabled autistic person, a buttercup she doesn't mind, using. Although now she's claiming she is autistic because of the chromosome disorder. But wait a minute, she doesn't have the chromosome disorder. Oh, wait, she has the chromosome disorder. No, it's a different disorder that's causing problems. Come on, this girl.
So I've heard about this robbery, but I don't know the details.
Okay.
So can you please tell us the details?
Yes. So there's a police report made in April of 2015 for missing money of a break-in and stolen out of Dee Dee's safe. Okay. Gypsy tells them that she thinks it is the girl who lives down the street. She is a disabled autistic woman. She's young woman, 20, 21, 22 years old. Okay. Her mother comes to the scene and she's like, what the hell's going on? And they're blaming this because she has supposedly had a key, which is very interesting to me. You're pulling this big con. Nobody knows you can walk, all this stuff, but everybody in the neighborhood's got a freaking key to your house. Okay.
Yeah, I wondered about.
Okay, but she blames this poor girl on the money she had taken out to send Nicholas to make the trip to freaking Missouri to see Cinderella with them. Okay? That's what's going on here. She blames this poor girl down the street. She's a disabled girl, blames her, right? So she has a history of using and blaming disabled people. Are we seeing the patterns here? Okay. And what's really interesting is in the same archive where we found the interview with Sheriff Arnott, there is an interview with this young lady. And this is when she finds out that Gypsy is a con, and she's like, she's devastated. She can't speak. She's all confused. You can tell that she has learning disabilities, developmental problems. You can tell she's obviously she is disabled. And she's so thrown for a loop because she just doesn't understand why they've done this. So that's what happens. She's blaming, and then there's the pizza guy incident.
This girl was heartbroken, and she said she considered Gypsy to be a sister to her.
Yes, just like Aaliyah, where she throws Aaliyah under the bus in 5 seconds of the freaking Stan telling her, well, Aaliyah's really worried. Aaliyah, did you see on Thought Catalog, I put it out today, was Aaliyah's original reaction to this. She talks about the fact that Gypsy told her that she met a man in 2011 on the internet, and that he was a pedo, and that he brought her back to his room with her, and that he forced her to lay down in the bed with her. The text message is shown. I put it out today. That he forced her to lay down in the bed with her, and when she didn't want to do anything, she called her mom. That's the original story she told Aaliyah about the Dan story in 2011.
And is that the one where they're at the not Comic-Con, but
no, that's in 2009. That's mentioned in the same part of the Thought Catalog. Same part of the Thought Catalog is mentioned, the 2009 incident. And in 2011, she labeled this man as her boyfriend. So the 2009 incident is a totally different man that has never been cleared. And he has been banned for life from the VisiCon for this incident with her, and she was over the age of 18 at the time. I'm telling you, we put it out today. I will give you the copy of our thing I put out, because I'm telling you, Megan Pack and the media were on the right track until Christy Blanchard put her nose in the middle of it and changed the story by selling a narrative that is false about Munchausen by proxy, and I have the proof.
And just to
That's
give you guys a little background on this gentleman from 2009, Gypsy, who's supposed to be under, her mother's eye at all times, according to her, somehow managed to disappear for 4 hours with this man. And everyone was looking everywhere for her. And they finally found her and this gentleman 4 hours later in his room, in the bed, in a state of undress. Then her mother made her go and apologize to everyone that she had upset because they were so worried about her. So you have to keep that in mind. That was 2009. So
And
those people knew then.
She showed proof that that Gypsy was over the age of 18, so the man would not get in trouble. But he was banned for taking care, because she's still disabled. So she's over the age, but they all knew she'd been lying about her age. She'd been lying that she couldn't walk. They all knew. That's Dan. That's David Blanchard. That's Kim Blanchard. I would not be suspicious it would not be out of the possibility of realness that it could be Aaliyah Woodmansee and her mother. I mean, the thing is, though, here's what I think the real story is, guys, with the wheelchair specifically. Okay, the story has always been, well, she could walk, but she was having issues. And then somewhere along the lines, it becomes she's paralyzed from the waist down. That doesn't really start until Missouri. So until before then, the story really was she has low muscle weakness in her legs. We use the wheelchair because if she has to walk a lot, then she needs something to assist with, and it's just easier for both of us instead of a walker. But up until 2005 in Missouri, when Katrina hit, she was still using the walker. She was still standing and being able to walk. She could perform things. It is not until they get to Missouri where they really started the fraud, and she is 15 years old, and she is well aware of what is going on when they get that house in Springfield, that the wheelchair really became, she can't get out of this wheelchair. Do you understand? The story that you guys have heard is distorted by the lies. But the original story really was, she's got a chromosome disorder. We don't know what chromosome disorder it is. We're trying to figure this out. And her prognosis is that she's going to get, she's going to continue to have lifelong problems, and she may not live to be whatever. That is actually the truth. What Dee Dee went around telling people about it was truthful. But what she did was embellish muscular dystrophy first, because, that was what they were looking for. And they didn't have a diagnosis to rule that out until 2000 and 2001. That's when they ruled out muscular dystrophy. And then cancer in Missouri. She was not treating those things. Doctors weren't treating those problems. She was embellishing them and using them for a financial gain. Everything else, though, is a truthful, actual medical condition that Gypsy has. And there are problems that she's going to continue to have throughout her life. Is the prognosis that she's going to die by 20 today? By today's standard, no. But back in 1991, they thought that because there weren't advancements. The advancements now, the chromosome disorder that Colleen and I have discovered, indicates that at moderate levels, severe levels, they may live to only be 2 or 3 years old. There are some people that live a completely unremarkable life. They have shown any symptoms of this chromosome disorder, whatever. They live to be whatever. But the person in a level of moderate, which is where we believe, the medical people that I'm working with believe that Gypsy falls within inside of this chromosome disorder, have a life expectancy of 50 to 60 years old.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back.
Wow, that was some
Yay.
beautiful lyrics. I swear, I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
I
I'm
really
gonna
like
cry. That was beautiful.
Yeah, I was going through them earlier and trying to pick out the ones that I wanted to use. And I was like,
Well, he's
wow,
very
these are some really
talented.
good songs.
Yeah,
Really
very,
talented. Very talented.
very good.
Mhm.
Okay, so sorry, Fancy, for cutting you off. I'm
No,
trying to
no, of course.
I'm trying to stick to a schedule.
I'm long-winded, so you got to cut me off. It's okay.
Like, shut up now. No. Hold
Right
on.
now, stop. Maybe no. So sorry.
Okay, so
She'll just click on it next time and you'll get the hint.
where were we at?
Chromosome disorder.
Okay.
Okay. What?
I think I.
Chromosome
Go
disorder.
ahead.
Yeah.
Well,
So we
you
were
know,
beginning to discuss what you and Colleen had recently discovered with the chromosome disorder.
Okay, so is this okay, or do you want to have other questions you'd like to go on to? Because the chromosome
No,
disorder is really extensive to explain. You know.
I would love to hear it.
Okay, so you know,
2 minutes. No.
all this time that we've been working on this case, we've been operating under the assumption that the medical records were just bullshit, right? Like literally. And the problem we've had with identifying this, and I'm sorry, I've got a snack because I'm dying. The problem we have with the medical records has always been, when Colleen and the other nurses were looking at them, the tests all came back as, okay, well, this looks normal. She went in for an ear infection. They treated the ear infection. She went in for this. They treated this. And all along the way, they were looking for whatever the heck is going on. They did a muscle biopsy. They ruled out muscular dystrophy, all the things. And so we're like, this doesn't track with what we're being told, because they're saying that all of this is complete bullshit, right? So how does this work? So it's always been hard for us to really come up to the conclusion of Munchausen by proxy. I have been one of the only people standing on, no, I'm sorry. This doesn't look like Munchausen by proxy to me.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of research now. I've gone back to school to understand this. I've talked to every Munchausen by proxy expert there could possibly be. And I'm sorry, folks, I don't agree. And then I find out from Dr. Feldman that when he went on Mommy, Dead, and Dearest, and he states that he actually, this is the worst case of medical child abuse I've ever seen, right? He never looked at the fucking records. He never spoke to Gypsy Rose and Dee Dee's dad, so he can't actually diagnose her with Jack All. So, folks, you've been sold this lie, and Feldman tells me this, and I'm like, are you shitting me, sir? I'm like, with you right now. And so I've stood on this, and I've stood on this. And then I talked with Mike Weber, who is the Tarrant County Investigative Prosecutor's Office out of Texas, Tarrant County, Texas. He works for them as the investigator. He works for the prosecutor's office, and he is a specialist in Munchausen by proxy cases. He sits on a board with Feldman, with a couple others, and I even told him the Feldman story. He's like, I would have called Mark on that too if I were sitting in a room with him. So fair enough on that. Like, how did you make this decision? You're labeling something her with no basis for the label, other than the fact that the perpetrator of this case told you that that's the truth. And she does have a lot of things that they didn't work up on her.
I would like to add that Fancy has also spoken to some of the survivors of Munchausen by proxy, because that is another thing that's very important to consider in this case. Most children who are victims of Munchausen by proxy do not survive.
Yeah.
Do not. And if they do, like Kate Marie she was abused for about 4 years, and then she turned 18 and she left. So this is not tracking. So I sat down with Mike, and I said to him, Mike, I've sat with this case a long time, and I've really come to this idea. I cannot reconcile this being Munchausen by proxy. So I said, so I have to ask you before we go any further, because I'm struggling with this, Mike. I know this family. They are a grifter family. It is not just Dee Dee. It is not limited to just Dee Dee. It is a grifter family. They all do different things. There's, wire fraud and check things and, stolen identities. And what is the difference between a generational grifter family that one of them chooses medical fraud as their given con and a Munchausen by proxy mom. And he said nothing. And that was, I sat, excuse me,
Me too.
sat with that for a second. I sat with that for a second. And I said, okay. And he said, what you have to do first is stop calling it Munchausen by proxy. Just stop. He goes, it's a stupid term. Nobody understands it. Somehow we've managed to, identify the abusee rather than the abuser.
Yeah.
And what is it? Something you eat? What is it? Is it a condition in my leg? Like, Munchausen. Ooh, that sounds yummy. Like, he's all, that's just ridiculous. The other term that we've tried to give it is factitious disorder imposed upon another. That's too clinical. Nobody understands what the fuck that is. He's like, so if you boil it down to one thing and call it medical child abuse, and that's it. He goes, it becomes very crystal clear. You no longer have to deal with motive or means or any of the things that you have to deal with when you're calling it something that no one understands. It becomes about, was it or was it not abuse?
And you may hear the word also malingering, and malingering is a term that is used quite frequently in this case, and Fancy can explain that.
Right. And so,
yeah, I learned about malingering from the Letitia Stout case.
right. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So malingering is what this would be at best. Okay. But it's not that either. And that was what I agreed with him. I go, well, this could be malingering. I would give it malingering, but not Munchausen. He's like, well, medical fraud can be happening with inside of medical abuse. And I said, yeah, I get it. But when he said medical child abuse, he goes, see, what this does is it gives you only certain things to look at. You have to look at, is it or is it not abuse? And if you can only look at that, it goes, this is Tarrant County and Texas gets freaking convictions and no one else does, because we only use the term medical child abuse. And a jury understands that term, medical child abuse. Is it or is it not abuse? That's it. Then it becomes that. And it's very crystal clear. And so he goes, so I'd like to look at the files and everything, but I've got another a year before I retire, blah, blah, blah. So this starts me back onto the thing of, I said, I still don't see this as Munchausen by proxy. I just cannot reconcile this. So I went to Colleen and I said, Colleen, I really need the confirmation about this chromosome disorder. I just got off the phone with Mike and I'm thinking, that's the one thing we've not really looked at. And I remember, she goes, yeah, but it was found that she didn't have it. I said, no, don't you remember? We had a member of our team. She was a partner for a while. It's Dee Dee's ex-best friend, Titania. She was a nurse. She wanted to really help out, everything. She came to me at one point in time, told me about the chromosome disorder. She found it in the files. And I said, okay, we'll give it to Colleen and let her look at it. Let's talk about it. Let's figure this out. Colleen comes back. She goes, Fancy, I've got the preliminary test on that. It says it's not the thing. Titania kept telling me, no, it is, I swear. She even went to Christy and told her about it. And then we never heard anything else about it, and it went away. And so I just thought to her, I said, do you remember her being so obstinate with you that there was actually a test that confirmed it? She goes, yeah, I do now. Yeah, you're right. I said, can you please just look, since you got the records from her, since she left the company, you have more, right? She goes, yes. And I said, then can you please just go find the chromosome disorder and look at this one more time? And so she started looking for it. Well, at the same time, I was going through a drive that I had never seen, that I really had just put aside and not looked through in a long time. Not that I'd never seen it, but it'd been a long time. And I found this document dated pre-Gypsy getting her plea deal from HBO's Aaron Lee Carr to Rod and Christie, talking about the medical records that they had obtained way back then that Christie claimed nobody had, that we were the ones requesting them in 2019. They had them all the way back in 2014, 2000. Wow. I mean, 2000. They had them all the way back in 2015 before she took the plea deal. Okay. They were still collecting them. And Mike Stanfield only had the ones that were included from the fraud investigation, but they were adding them. This means all the way back to 2015, the media, Mike Stanfield, Dan Patterson, Christie, Rod, everyone had the real things, and they sold a lie on purpose, and they rushed to get a documentary out to make sure that her co-conspirator Nicholas Godejohn would be buried.
Now, why do you think that happened? Why do you think? Well, I've got my own theories as far as her setting up Nick.
Well, let me hear that. I'd like to hear that because I want to hear what you have to say first. I've been talking a lot.
No, I feel like it's a setup because
yes, 100%.
She left a trail online, and she told him that they couldn't take the murder weapon on the
yes, the murder weapon.
Yeah, and they had both gone on a Greyhound. They both knew what a Greyhound station looked like. And so there was ample opportunity to get rid of that knife, and she insisted.
Plenty of places,
Yeah, she insisted. Plus, with the glove, it's so odd.
And she left evidence in the trash can that led to him.
What was that?
More gloves and more things, but she took other things out of the house that would indicate that she was an adult.
Oh wow.
Okay.
You know what? Like what?
Her clothes. Her clothes.
Okay,
anything that would indicate that she was having a menstrual cycle. And Nick even mentions this. He says she was throwing away all her stuff, trying to get rid of evidence. Yeah, evidence that she was an adult.
Wow.
And guys, she knew the trash pickup. She knew the day that the trash picked up and the route.
And
so she
Go ahead,
planned this to get the trash out there to make sure that trash would be picked up before she was ever found.
That's right. And then on top of that, she's come out and admit, after denying, calling me a liar, saying that I made the chromosome disorder up. Then she started backpedaling and saying, okay, I have it, but I didn't know, and I have no symptoms. Now we're to the story of, I found out in 2011 that I have the chromosome disorder, but I have this other thing that's actually no, you knew. So now you're admitting you knew. So she knew all the way back to 2011. She was not being abused. She had a disorder that caused all the problems she has. She just wanted out because she wanted Dan's D. And Mama wouldn't let her having it. And it was fire as hell, apparently, according to her, because she's still obsessed with it. And that's what's going on here. She framed Nicholas. She played on an autistic boy. And that's the freaking truth.
Do you guys realize that while she was in an online relationship with Nick, she was in a physical relationship with Dan and other men in her area? And
he called him her boyfriend.
This wasn't something that Nick did lightly. He did not want to do this. No. She played on him. A lot of people don't know this, but for nearly 3 solid years, day in and day out, she manipulated that young man.
Yeah. And oh shoot, I can't remember.
And see, the crime scene does not match the story. It just doesn't.
So when I watch a true crime case or whatever, usually for me to get interested in something has to catch my attention, and it could be something really stupid.
Me too.
But with this one, it was the Barney plush. I have no idea why. But that stuck out in my mind, and I want to know. Okay, so Gypsy's story is that Nick did everything by himself. She stayed in the bathroom.
The bathroom over the cat box. Over the cat box that's right there. Yeah, the cat box.
Yeah. And
no, I'm not even kidding you. There's a big ass cat box right there where she claims that she was hiding. It's the little details that you have to think about, you know? How could you be hiding between the toilet and the sink with the shitter box right there? Like, I don't understand.
Maybe she felt more at home.
I don't know. But anyway, go on.
So now according to her, she never went into that
Went in
room
the room.
after he. So why would
Mhm.
Nick place a plush Barney stuffed animal
Mhm.
next to Dee Dee
Now,
when she's?
there's a couple different things to talk about this Barney. Okay, I like this one. So there's ways to think about the Barney, because Detective Mahaly, asks him about the Barney in his interrogation.
Yeah, I remember.
And at first she says, "Do you remember seeing a Barney?" And I think what she's trying to establish is whether that Barney was placed there before or after the crime. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So she says that, and at first I believe his answer is, "Yeah, I saw the Barney." And then he changes it to, "No, I don't remember seeing the Barney." I think that's the way it went. Okay, but there were two stories. He got confused about the Barney. So, if you think about the Barney being there already when he comes in, he also talks about the fact that he did not disturb the covers, right?
Yeah, he
So
did.
Dee Dee is covered all the way up to her head. She can't, you barely see her with the covers. He says he didn't move the covers. So, there's no blood on the outside covers. The blood splatter does not or does not match. Okay. So if the Barney was placed there beforehand, then the story could go along the lines of Dee Dee was already on her way out, and a killer. This is going to the psychology of killers. People that care about a person and kill them take care of their body. Okay. So she put the Barney up there to comfort her, and she covers her up, and she writes the KIL above and the V on the butt cheek to frame Nick completely. And he comes in, he does what he thinks to a body that is already on its way out or out, and we go on. Okay, that could be the case.
Yeah.
The other scenario is Nick goes in, he does his attack, does everything he does. She goes in, she gets the money out of the safe, because I don't think she would have given him the combination to the safe and trusted him with, she thinks he's a bumbling idiot, guys. I'm sorry, she does. There's no way she would have trusted him with getting the money out of the safe. So she has to go in there to get the money out of the safe, to clean up, because he made me clean up naked. Get out of here. Okay. Clean up. I think then the plausible thing would be then that she then put the letters there, or he did. She throws the covers up over the body, and she tosses the Barney up there for comfort, and that's that. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the two ways that can go. I think that the back of the neck is a very important part of this, because he seems shocked when Mahaly gives him that information. So if you go with the first story, that would explain it, because the covers were up over her head. He would have never seen that. And he only goes with it when he realizes there's something he doesn't know, and he's got a cover for her, because that's what he does. He's her saving her. He's her savior. Or, he does it, and we've got the other side. So it's just, you have to look at the crime scene, because we don't have the autopsy. We have to really dissect the crime scene,
Yeah, and I think it's awfully convenient that she was naked cleaning up the crime scene, because
don't you though?
Yeah, no fibers. Yeah.
And if you listen very closely to the interrogation, I think it's very clear that she is telling a story of two different men.
Yeah.
It is the story of Dan and the story of Nick, and she's combining them to be one man. But you can hear where she's talking about Dan, and I think Dan did throw her up against a wall, and
this
do
is
that.
the theory that I mentioned to you guys when you asked me in my introduction on how I became involved.
Right.
I came up with the Dan theory and gave it to Fancy. She'd already had Dan on her radar, but had been distracted on purpose by all this other minutia and everything else that was being thrown at her. And then when I laid it all out and had facts to back it up, she was just like, wow, you're right. And so I'm sure you guys have heard this Dan theory. I wish I had $1 for every time somebody mentioned it, because I would be a multimillionaire, because every content creator in the world took off with it. But Fancy was the one that needed to bring it to light.
Yeah.
But
let me explain real quick.
That was the theory that I brought to her when I said theory. It was about Dan.
And let me explain real quick about how this is why I believe there's two stories, and it's going to be one little tale about it. She tells a story about her mom kicking her out 2 days prior, right?
Mm-hmm.
She tells Nick this in text messages. My mom threw me out. I had to sleep with the bugs, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
so 2 days, the whole monkey wrench comes into this. I think what happened is she got into an argument again with her mother over Dan. She even tells Stan that that's what they were arguing over was her boyfriend. Her boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's Nicholas, folks. That's
Mhm.
not Nicholas. Nicholas is the stooge, the patsy. He's
Mm-hmm.
not. He's the alternate plan. And she ended up having to go with the alternate plan because as Gypsy's plans go, something went awry.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Sorry. So all right. You hear the statement about we were fighting, she kicked me out, da 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 da. And she tells her, she says something about she thought that he was a bad guy, a Jeffrey Dahmer type of guy, a guy
Yeah.
who likes killing and killing people. I don't think she's talking about Nicholas there. Because neighbors, when the first report happened, neighbors came out and said that they knew about Nicholas and that she was bragging about the relationship she was having. And she said, my mom was really scared of him. She was really scared of Dan. And she had been everybody knew that Dee Dee did not approve. She hated Dan. She couldn't stand him. So what did she tell her to do? Go with the boy to Wisconsin. At least you'll be happy. I think she did that out of love, sir.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Something
Yeah.
went down that night that did not go down the way they're telling.
And interestingly enough, Dan is on the run now, right?
Yeah. According to her, we have the wrong Dan.
Oh, okay. Sorry,
But-
Dan.
but, no,
Sorry, Dan.
so listen, guys, I want to, the crime scene is all wrong, and
It is very
that's
wrong.
really what drew me to the case. And with your
Mhm.
medical training, there's not enough. There's no blood splatter. There's not nearly enough blood. I mean, everything about it is wrong. You can tell the stab wounds were done at different times.
Right.
The safe is broken. There's a man's black baseball cap in the hallway the police pick up and take into evidence that we never
There's a
hear
wedding ring
anything
that appears
about.
to be in the living room.
Right.
Mhm.
And then we have the dually truck tires in the front
Mhm.
yard. Now, my
Mhm.
question to you ladies, I don't know if you were aware of this or not, but the safe that was broken, there was $15,000 cash left in that safe with a pile of donation checks that had not been cashed yet.
Mhm.
So my question was, who and why was that money left in the safe?
Mhm.
Okay. Well, we're going to go to a commercial break and
Absolutely.
talk about it.
Yeah, no, it's a good time. Good time for it. Quick pain.
Waking up in the early light from the smell of smoke and the heat of fire with fear written on my face. It's today, my last day. My vows stand strong to my homeland, and I fight this battle with my bare hands, gaining wounds with a story to tell, burning inside like the pits of hell. In the battle of the promised land, the place I'll make my final stand. Ain't no evil that can bring me down, 'cause I put them in the ground. It seems the past is here today, through the miles of screams that fade, that I'll hear for the rest of my life. From the midst of the front lines, sound of silence ringing in my ears, asking God what's next. Is the end near? Cover my breath when I hear him come. Lucky to see tomorrow's sun in the battle of the promised land, the place to make past is here today. Through the miles of screams that faint, that I'm here for the rest of my life. From the midst of the front
Welcome back, everyone. I did have a quick question.
Yeah.
Question for you guys real quick, or more of a clarification. That's where I mixed up
Sure.
the word.
No problem.
Okay.
No problem. Yeah.
So while you guys were talking, swear I was listening, but I figured since I had a question, maybe some viewers at home might need a clarification as well. When you're talking about the Dan theory, you guys are implying that he may have been at the crime scene at the time that this took place?
I'm implying that there is reasonable doubt.
Reasonable doubt.
That is a plausible explanation that should have been explored. That was not, because Nicholas had confessed and they closed the investigation into the fraud or anything with Gypsy when she took her plea deal. They never went any further. So that creates reasonable doubt, and it should have been explored.
And they do have the text message exchanges going on between
Her and Dan.
Gypsy and Nicholas, where she asked him if it would be okay if she had sex with Dan one more time before they left town together. And they were supposed to meet up. And then we also know that in the interrogation, when Nicholas is speaking to himself, when he's stuck in there for 15 hours on a plastic chair while she's laid out on a couch with her fishy cushion, which we hate the fishy pillow. But do you guys know that the police bought that for her at the hospital gift shop when she had to go get tests done? Yeah, blood test. That's ridiculous. So anyway, he says to himself, you know, I'm going to have to apologize to a lot of people, but I'm not going to apologize to Dan. That's one person I will not apologize to. And then later he says that he saw one of Gypsy's friends, Dan, text message her, and he saw the message.
Yes.
We have no idea what that message was.
But what we do know, that lots of people don't know, is that, we all know about the Facebook post that she admits to making. Yes. And I believe she made it to frame him. I do not think that she didn't know that a IP address could be traced. I think she absolutely did know that an IP address could be traced. I don't think she was trying to just alert the authorities to go find her mom. I think that she was not happy where she was, and she was about to go on the run. Okay.
Yeah, that doesn't sound exciting.
All right, and here's the reason why. There's the Facebook post that was originally made that alerted everyone in the neighborhood to what was going on. That the fat pig is, okay. Yeah. The second one came in. The second one came in almost immediately after the first one. The second comment came in. Okay, so it came in within a 10-minute period, I think. Check my math on it, check the dates, check the timestamps, but it comes in relatively close to the first one. Yeah, that's the two that everybody knows about. There was a third comment posted from the same account at 20 minutes after the first two. So you're thinking about 30-minute time period here, okay? And it says, the girl is dead too.
Yeah.
I recall that.
Yeah,
okay?
I remember that.
Kimberly Blanchard shows that to the police officers, and she is the only one who saw it and showed it to them. She had it. She took it, here it is. And it was deleted in the time period that it happened. So it happened. She posted it. And before that she could do anything, she even tells Stan this is what happened. They immediately came to his house. I mean, it was like this. It was not a long process. This was, they were alerted and they were there because of that because she put that message out. You know, nobody was alerted looking for her days before. It's because of what she did with the message, so they could find her or find him with the murder weapon and Miss Gypsy gone. That's my opinion. So she thought that the police were going to take longer to get there. She says this to Stan. I was looking at my phone and my friend Dan was texting me about some concerning messages and I never got to see. That's probably one of my, I'm sorry, somebody's walking by. Rowdy. It's okay. I didn't get to see everything he said, but he was telling me about Rowdy. Concerning messages, right? In that time period from the message made to them picking her up where she's telling this story, you know, literally, guys, she deleted it. It disappeared. It went away. And I believe that she was sitting. So when he gets caught, he's outside in a standoff with the police. He's got a knife. He's waving it around. The police are, the whole thing. She's upstairs hiding in a motherfucking closet. Okay. Wouldn't it be so very convenient at that time when she realizes, oh shit. They came too fast. I didn't get the hell out of here. I didn't get to go meet Dan. Fuck. What do I do? She deletes the last message and she hopes that no one saw it because it was only there for a fraction of a moment. Right? And now she starts to craft the story. I don't know jack shit about Jack. And then when Stan gives it to her, he literally hands her the, did Nick do something and you tried to stop that whole thing? And she does it and she turns in a second and off she is running with that one. And the way you can tell that she realizes what she can do, but she's not quite good enough to figure it all out on the moment. So she doesn't mention abuse. She sticks straight with the boyfriend and he did it and it's all him and blah, 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 and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah with Nick. Stan goes out of the room. She thinks those text messages are all gone because she wiped the phone. But she didn't understand that they would find those text messages and there's only 2 weeks of text messages that they were able to
And
recover.
also, she tells Mike, I only have 3 numbers in my phone. Stan, I'm sorry.
It's, I only have 3 numbers in my phone.
It's my mom and Nicholas and my friend Dan, but my friend Dan and I aren't on very good terms right now.
Yeah. So, you know, she realizes in that moment with Stan, okay, they're not going to buy that I didn't know anything. He's given me Nicholas. I'm going to run with Nicholas. Then Stan leaves the room. At that point in time, he has given the text messages. They were able to retrieve them from the phone. And that's when he knows, no, you planned this with him for years. We have you dead to rights. It's over. And what does she say to him?
I need a lawyer, sir.
Right. What's the first thing she says, though? I can't go to prison. I've got lots of medical issues. Well, where the fuck were those medical issues 4 hours ago, honey?
Yeah.
Well, and I before we went on break, I had asked you ladies what you thought about the reasoning why the $15,000 in cash and the boatload of donation checks have been left in the safe, left behind. Who were they left for and why? What's your opinions?
Yeah, so I've thought about this some, and the only thing I can really think of is that she was either expecting to go back, or she was leaving it for Dan, or she was leaving it for Rod and Christy.
I think, well, and then there's one more you have to consider, that it was a staged crime scene for I was a kidnapped girl during a robbery and the whole thing, because this leads us to where Sarah and I came across the, you know, we're both in entertainment. You know, I watch movies, she watches movies, and she started talking to me about Gone Girl, you know, the movie Gone Girl and the book by Gillian Flynn, right? Love it. one of my favorite movies. My daughter loves it. We love this. And she starts saying, Fancy, what if this is a Gone Girl situation? It's set in Missouri. She watched those things. They came out the year before. There's DNA in the freezer, Christy tells us. There's the crime scene that's set up. It's definitely staged. We can look at it and see it's staged.
There's DNA in the freezer?
Oh, did you guys miss the DNA in the... Oh, you missed the DNA in the freezer.
Oh no!
All right.
Okay, now you have to hear the Gone Girl theory, because I tell you what happened when I found out about the vial of blood in the freezer. And also the police reports stating that there was blood kind of sprinkled sporadically around the house that was not consistent with someone who lived there. I immediately on the phone screamed to Fancy. I said, "Oh my God, she pulled a Gone Girl."
Gone Girl. And Gone Girl is set in Missouri. It was taped a year beforehand, and we know Miss Gypsy Rose was an avid reader and an avid watcher of movies. Okay, the DNA in the freezer. Let's dish. All right.
Okay.
So I'm getting reports back and everything. I put in my FOIA request. I'm doing all the different things, and Christy and I are talking on a daily basis, just several times a day at this point. And I'm just getting different things. You know, she's talking about the prescription pad that's underneath that they found underneath the bed. And I'm questioning her about it. I'm like, Christy, it doesn't look like a prescription pad. No, I swear it is. She's showing me. I'm like, Christy, that's not a prescription pad. I don't know what you're telling me. Oh, I saw it. Well, I don't agree with what you're showing me that proves that that's a prescription pad. You can say whatever the hell you want, but that does not look like a prescription. So we're going through and she's trying to tell me all these things. And she goes, "Oh my God, Fancy, I forgot to tell you about the vial of blood and DNA in the freezer." And I was like, what? How did you forget? What?
That'd be the most important
I was
part.
like, that's a pretty crucial thing. It's not in the what? I was like, okay. She goes, "Yeah, I have no idea why Dee Dee would be keeping a vial of her DNA and blood in the freezer, but she was, and it's just so weird and creepy." And I'm like,
Or Gypsy's
blood. It was Gypsy's blood.
Okay. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Just want clarification. My bad.
And Gypsy's blood, listen, like Sarah said, Gypsy's blood is all there. Gypsy's DNA and Gypsy's blood is all over the house in places it should not be, according to the documents from the case file. So I'm like, when she says this to me, I'm thinking, okay, so I've got this text message that's disappearing that says the girl's dead. I've got the story about Dan. I've got the Gone Girl, like she said. I'm like, Gone Girl. She was gonna pull a Gone Girl. I have every thought process that when she sent that last comment onto Facebook, her idea was, I'm gonna grab all my shit, because she never unpacked, she never changed clothes, nothing, right? So that sells the story of, I was kidnapped, so if she gets found somewhere, she's kidnapped, right? But I think she was gonna book it to Arkansas with Mr. Dan, and she thought she was gonna change her name, get a whole new freaking identity, and no one would know who the hell she was. And I don't know if Dan wanted to go along with that or not, because it seems like maybe he didn't.
Well, he was married with children and a very checkered past. He was a criminal, constantly in trouble with the law. And, you know, it's
again, a reasonable doubt, just reasonable doubt. That's the thing. All of this points to reasonable doubt. Now, I don't have a whole lot more time to spend with you ladies, but I'd really like to get to the meat of the chromosome disorder, because it's what's on everybody's mouth right now, and it's our discovery, and I'd like to at least put it out there a little bit, if you wouldn't mind me educating it on it.
Yeah, can we go to another commercial break and then we'll
We can, and that would be great. Yes,
Okay.
please.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Good.
This is going to be 41 seconds, so it's not too long.
Not very long. Okay, good. Okay.
The fact that our patriotism in America is dwindling, I really wanted to start the American AF movement. Freedom is fragile, very fragile. It takes a certain level of intestinal fortitude to stand up and say and do the right thing to preserve the freedoms that so many have paid a large price for. About being in the military, and that recruiter said, it's not Biden's army, it's your army, it's his army, it's his army, it's all of our army.
American tactical. American as f***.
Okay, welcome back, ladies and listeners. Okay.
Hey, okay. I'm
We're gonna get right back into the chromosome disorder.
Okay, so yeah, so listen, there's a lot that it covers. We've been doing daily educational posts on our social medias. If you want it in the form of written out and pictures, then you want to go to Facebook. But if you follow us on TikTok and our other socials, we've been doing video coverage of this in small form content so you can understand. It's a lot to go over, but to give it in a nutshell, I did this the other night on Sir Morvid X's thing. You know, Dee Dee told everyone that a chromosome disorder was what Gypsy had. She was being truthful. It is a chromosome disorder that would have been at the time that we are in now. It could be discovered at birth, and they would be able to treat the various ailments that result from the chromosome disorder. Okay, in 1991, they did not have that technology. So in 1991, when Gypsy was born, she began to have problems at about 3 months old of breathing. That is a symptom of the chromosome disorder. Okay, she takes her in. She says she's having breathing problems. They put her on a CPAP. Now, we've all heard the stories from the family. I want you to take all the stories you've heard from the family and put them aside for a moment, because you have to remember, con artist family. And yes, I believe the Petries more than I believe anything that comes out of the Blanchards' mouths, but the Petries are still con artists and they still get paid for talking, and you still have to think about different things. Okay, so chromosome disorder, she tells everybody she's got this chromosome disorder. I don't know how long she's going to live. Oh my God, blah, blah, blah. We hear all the stories of her, in the wheelchair, pushing kids in the neighborhood, da, 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 da. And think about the story of that. Like, okay, so Dee Dee came out and she immediately gets back in the wheelchair. Well, maybe Dee Dee comes out and is like, oh my God, what are you doing? You've been running around forever. Get back in your chair. You're going to get too tired. And then I'm going to have to deal with you tonight, blah, blah, blah. That could have been as simple as that. And not just, oh, she crawls back into the thing because Dee Dee's forcing her into this wheelchair that she doesn't need. No, the chromosome disorder becomes very evident in the beginning. You can look at her. You see this area of her face right here is very important. Okay, it is a enlarged, overhanging forehead. That is a symptom of the chromosome disorder. The inset eyes and how they're inset into the socket, that is. The crossing of her eyes, the astropia she has, that is. Their noses are long and bulbous at the end. And then in this region here, they have a triangular shaped face because they can have a raised palate. She has the raised palate. That's what causes her voice to go to this high. Then she puts it on and makes it worse. But her general voice is high pitched if you listen to her talk. Her grandmother had a high-pitched voice like that, was very short in stature. Being short in stature is a symptom of this. Failure to thrive is a symptom of this, okay? But the problem was, in 91, they didn't know what the hell they're looking at. They termed it a unknown chromosome disorder of unknown etiology. That's it. That's her medical files. That it is. They didn't know. So they're doing all these different tests, and she's got all these erroneous things. She's got bottle rot. She's got this. She's got eye problems. You see her eye problems. She's having muscle tone weakness. Her muscles are slightly atrophied, but they can't figure out why. I mean, they're going through all the things. They just can't figure it out. They don't know. So in Missouri, in 2000, she starts seeing Dr. Garcia, and he does a nerve conduction study and a full MRI scan of her brain and her full spine. So 4 different parts of her spine. That comes back negative. They're looking to see if it could possibly be muscular dystrophy. This is where muscular dystrophy shows up for the first time. Okay, 2000. She is 9 years old. Okay, so in 2001, Dr. Garcia has her back to his office in the January of 2001. So this was October of 2000. They do the nerve conduction. They say that doesn't look like it's muscular dystrophy. We got to look for something else, but they're going to run more tests. So then Dr. Garcia calls her in January of 2001. Now this is the very first time in the files her birthday is the same, but her age changes. She goes from
Oh.
being born in 1991, but then it says that she's 12 years old. That's the beginning of this.
Okay.
Then, so that's the first time we see it. Okay, 2001. That's where they start changing birth dates.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they do a muscle biopsy of her left leg.
Yeah.
They do find atrophy. They do find that there is problems with her leg, but they determine that it is not muscular dystrophy. So
Mm-hmm.
anyone who puts it in her file past that is committing fraud.
Yeah.
Okay, but nobody was treating her for muscular dystrophy, and Dee Dee was using it as a means for financial gain with the community and charities only. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now she's seeing Dr. Beckerman in Louisiana, and I think he's sus as fuck. Okay. Everything
Mm-hmm.
about him is sus. I could go on and on for hours about him. It does
Yeah.
not matter in the course of this stuff. Okay.
Yeah,
I think
agree.
she found him when when Gypsy was 4 years old, and I think her and Beckerman, you know, in my opinion, allegedly for entertainment and educational purposes only, I think that, you know, he and her came up with a plan to commit medical fraud. Not medical abuse, medical fraud. She's a sick
Mm-hmm.
kid. She's gonna have problems all along. Let's just embellish this shit a little bit. Let's get some
Mhm.
money. And I think everybody knew. I think Rod and Christy knew. I think the Petrie family knew. Everyone knew. Because you know what? They all say it. We all knew she could walk. We all knew. Da, 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 da. They all say it. Everyone I've ever interviewed says chromosome disorder, and we knew. Well, excuse me. What? That's not the story that's being told everywhere. What the
Yeah.
F is going on here? Okay. So in 2005, she's in Slidell. They have settled in Slidell. They got the Dolphin Cove trip and the Disney trip, and there's the newspaper article that I've put out, and it's basically identical to the story that they tell in Springfield. We found our home. It's everything. The fairy tales do come true. The whole fucking thing.
Mm-hmm.
That happens in Slidell in 2001, 2002. They moved there. No, 2003. I'm sorry. That's when they moved to Slidell. 2003.
Okay.
So they're there for 2 to 3 years. Okay. So that's, and then Katrina hits. They are devastated by Katrina, in Rod's own words. They were devastated by Katrina. He says this in Mommy Dead and Dearest. It played a big impact on their lives, and they were now moving to Missouri. He goes, and it went from being a chromosome disorder to cancer, and now she's shaving her head. He's like, and I thought that was a really big leap from chromosome disorder to cancer. Okay,
Yeah.
cancer only came on the scene because of this. They'd run the gamut with the muscular dystrophy. It was catching up to them. They were not going to be able to continue to run that fraud much longer. They'd been thrown out of the Ronald McDonald House for fraud already. It was their time in Missouri was coming to an end. It definitely was. They'd run their con and they needed to move on. Okay, and so they get in contact with Dr. Beckerman, and they're supposedly in the Superdome. Now, some people say she was in a shelter in Covington, Louisiana. I have not been able to confirm that in any way, shape, or form. I do know that picture of her in the sink with the head shape, that's when she shaved her head for the first time. That is when, after that picture was taken, that Gypsy herself approached the doctor from Missouri, told her that she needed to have chemo treatments, that she was a cancer patient, and that they needed to get her out of there. She was very sick. That was Gypsy at 14 years old on her own. She knew she did not have cancer. She had never seen a cancer doctor. None of those things. She went up and told that. They quickly airlift her out. They get her to Kansas City, where Beckerman is on scene and ready to effing go. He sets her up with Dr. Steele. He sets her up with the dental, the dentist that specializes in cancer patients, and cancer becomes the new story so that she can stay at the Hope Lodge while she's there. Okay, then it never gets taken anywhere. She leaves. She moves to Aurora. She goes to Aurora, Missouri for 2 years. Very unremarkable things happen during that period of time. She's not seen by doctors. She's not nothing. It's regular. She lives every little dumb old fucking life. People see her moving, walking around. She gets the habitat in Springfield. And yes, there's accounts of this. We have it. 2007. She moves to Springfield, gets the Habitat house, and her care begins being seen in Springfield by Beckerman and Dr. Steele. Dr. Steele was still seeing her in 2005 when she landed. In 2005, in September of 2005, 1 month after she has landed in Missouri, he puts in a request for her medical records from Louisiana. He receives her medical records 1 month later. In that includes a 204-page document that he is told specifically she does not have muscular dystrophy. He does nothing. He continues to chart it. He gets her seen for it, the whole damn thing. In 2007, he still can't, supposedly figure out what's going on with her. So this is 2 years later, that after he's known for 2 years she does not have muscular dystrophy. So he sends her to Flasterstein. Okay? Flasterstein sees her a total of 2 times. That's Dr. Flasterstein. He's been in all the documentaries. And remember Steele sitting in prison confessions telling you guys, he's got that big folder like this, and he's like, if I had ever seen... Motherfucker, you saw them in 2005. Okay? And in 2007, guess what? Then you gave them to Dr. Flasterstein, and he also saw them. And his opinion, based on that, is that in 2007, he sees her the first time. He says, Mom's not a great historian. Mom isn't a good historian. She's been in several she's been in several accidents. She is having memory problems already. She has problems. She's sick. She's got issues, folks. Dee Dee was not well. All right. So she goes in. He says she's not a good historian. He sends that letter to Dr. Steele. She's not a good historian. No Munchausen by proxy yet. She's not a good historian. He says, I'm going to run some tests. He runs a nerve conduction. He runs the MRI. He doesn't do a biopsy. He just does the preliminary. I'm not even sure if it was nerve conduction. I know he runs the MRI of the spine and the back and the brain. Okay? This is in 2007. He comes back with, there's nothing in her spine or her brain that's really telling me why she would have these problems. I do see that she has these lesions at the bottom of her spine that could be something, but she has all these weird symptoms. There is an absolute possibility that this could be Munchausen by proxy. Okay, that's 2007. He says in his accounting in Mommy, Dead and Dearest, he states that he went to other members of the faculty and they told him to not pursue it, that he was not, that he would not be believed, that these were beloved patients and blah, 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 blah. She never goes back and sees him. Now the story goes from Gypsy that originally she says that he did have her stand up. Now she says he didn't, right? So we're getting conflicting stories here.
Yeah.
So 2007, she doesn't go back to Dr. Flasterstein anymore because Flasterstein this letter to Steele, and I believe Steele looks at it and goes, oh, no, this is going to fuck up our fraud shit all over the place. I can't have this. So he doesn't send her to 2009. In 2009, there is a call made to CPS. He says he made it. I do not believe that he made it. I believe a nurse of his made it, and he's covering his ass.
Yeah, I remember something.
He says he called it in. Yeah, right. He says he called it in as a kidnapping. The report says it was called in as Munchausen by proxy. And HBO mentions him in that letter I told you about from HBO to Christy, mentions the fact that he claims that he was the one who did it, but they could not confirm that it was him either. And it was made by an anonymous caller in 2009. That then opens the fraud investigation because they go out and they learn Gypsy's got 2 different IDs. She's got the ID that shows that she's over the age of 18 and an ID that shows she's not. So then she pulls out the birth certificate. She's got a couple birth certificates, but they show the right one. They confirm that she's over the age of 18, so CPS cannot do a damn thing. The police investigate to see if there's any type of abuse or anything. They do notate that she does appear to have some sort of mental cognitive delays, and that she indicates that she is fine, that she's in contact with her father, and everything's great, and it's all gravy, and they leave. But this indicates to the hospital, wait a minute. We've got non-matching birthdays. We've got weird freaking things. What's going on, folks? So the hospital in Springfield then asks for a guardianship. They wanted a guardianship paper. It's very important, the difference of terms I'm using. Guardianship. Dee Dee comes in with these false power of attorneys. Power of attorneys that I have all 5 of them. There's 5 different ones with 5 different names and 5 different everything, classic fraud that were never filed with the court. I contacted the notary. She does not recall ever doing this. She does not. She said there was a time period, though, that her stamp had been stolen out of the office. So she's not quite sure. So in 2009, Dee Dee tries to give these fake POAs to the hospital. Hospital says, no. We need a guardianship. We want a court of law on this. No. And so Beckerman and Steele move her care to Kansas City. In 2009, Dr. John Baptiste Le becomes her neurologist. He begins treating her for her seizure disorder, which she claims she never had seizures. Well, maybe you did and you're lying, because maybe you did.
And she was on Kepra, and when I was
Yes, and she was
listening to your podcast, it had said that they had given her a whole year's subscription or prescription of Kepra without being sick again, and it was different from the weight she was and everything.
It was, and there was a reason why. The reason why was because Dee Dee was so sick, she was having a hard time getting to Kansas City. So Dr. Le was seeing her like once or twice a year to manage her care, because they had gotten her to a point of stability. But there were still all these things that they just didn't understand why she had them. They had fixed her teeth at this point. They fixed her eyes at this point. She was no longer having the chronic infections in her ears, but there were still just things that they just didn't understand. They're like, we don't know what this is. We've been trying and we're so confused. So that was what happened. And Dr. Le then decides in 2011, after seeing her for 2 years, he's like, all right, I've had enough of this. I've had enough. We are going to run genetic freaking testing. And he doesn't just order your average everyday genetic test. He orders the full kit and caboodle. He wants the whole thing done. Okay? Dr. Le for the fucking win, man. Okay, because the doctors, look, I'm looking at these files for 8 years trying to figure out how do I prosecute these fucking doctors for the negligence and obvious malpractice. And I'm going, now I'm like, well, now I know why we never went after the doctors, because there is no way to go after the doctors, because the doctors were doing what they were supposed to do. But there are some sus as fuck doctors in here that were committing medical fraud. Okay, well, let's go back to Dr. Le, our hero. He runs this very specific, he runs 2 tests. He runs a karyotype and a microarray. The microarray that he runs is an expansive microarray testing. And it's actually done for when they do not understand very rare disorders. They're looking for specifically rare things. When they've tried everything else, they're like, fuck, let's go the whole way and look, see if there's just something we've missed that's huge, that's rare. Right? Well, yes, they did. So in 2011, technology has now caught up. They're still, they're like, okay, let's figure it out. And they did. So the reason, though, that in my podcast, Colleen talks about it not being founded is because we had 31 pages of a 33-page document. Okay. That is the lab results and everything from this one thing. Okay. On page 30 through 31, it is the karyotype testing. That is a preliminary type of blood test, just looking for preliminary things. And it states in there, within the parameters of this test, and that's very important, within the parameters of this test, we do not see any indication of a chromosome disorder. It is unlikely to be founded within this test. Yes. They did the expanded test, which was the microarray, which is page 32 and 33. Colleen did not have that until Titania left the company, long after we recorded the podcast. And we hadn't looked at the medical records in a long time because we were doing other things. We weren't even on this case anymore. We weren't gonna do it. And then she just, announced that she's coming out, and I'm like, fuck, we really have to do this. We've got to do it now. Like, this is the end. This is the final hurrah. If we don't do it now, we might as well just never talk about this again. So, that's what prompts us to go back and look through this. Well, when she finds that, the microarray is very specific. It tells you exactly how long the microdeletion is. It's 2.74 MB interstitial deletion. It tells you it repeats. It tells you that Dee Dee is testing. Dee Dee was also tested and she did not have this, and that it's likely to come from a parent, right? Because they can't have the random breakout of this, which is the first thing that they tried to talk about, the lies, when they said that they finally admitted that, oh yeah, Fancy said she has a chromosome disorder that we've said she was lying about, but now we're going to go ahead and admit it. And they were like, well, see, this is the thing. No. It's very specific, and it says that, they could not reach Rod to get the testing done. And if you look at the other 3 of his children, if you put all 4 children side by side, you can clearly see through physical anomalies, which is one of the main indicators of this rare chromosome disorder. They all have the facial features, and there are so many different spectrum of levels of this chromosome disorder. You can see it comes from him. It's in the history of what they've told me about their ancestors. It's him. I'm sorry. It's a deletion your child has. And I was very adamant, even up until a couple weeks ago, saying, they pulled this PR stunt. It was a whole drama thing. And I'm telling this woman that I've known for years, I'm like, that's talking to Christy. I said, listen, I've re-looked at the chromosome disorder. She really needs to talk to me about this. I'm very concerned for her grandchildren, if she has them. So at very least, you need to let them know, hey, no, your kid really has this. All of your kids have this. And genetic counseling needs to be done, because you could end up with a grandchild on the absolute high spectrum of this that ends up with severe microcephaly and doesn't live past 2 to 3 years. You cannot ignore this. You cannot pretend she doesn't have this. And no, folks, she does not fall in the 75% of people that show no fucking signs. I think her medical records and her face proves that's not true. And now they've come up with this whole conversion. Now they're trying to float a story that she does. Yes, she has the chromosome disorder, but she also has conversion disorder, which is basically a disorder that when they can't figure out what it is, they basically go, well, maybe it's her fucking, it's a psychosomatic disorder. That's what happens. But because of the fact that she has this actual chromosome disorder, she has a neurological explanation for all of her ailments. The conversion story, my loves, that you have spent hours while desecrating Nick's memory and talking about his Limp Biscuit and on his birthday, while you did all of this to him to just refute the fact, you couldn't even leave him enough time to have his birthday. You had to talk about this, try to decredit my findings and Colleen's findings, and you're trying to come up with some bullshit about something that is absolutely 100% untrue. Why can you not allow him to have one day in his freaking life, lady? What is wrong with you? They were on there literally making fun of him, Christy and Gypsy, in this content creator Breeze Live, while they were trying to disprove my chromosome disorder, looking at her medical records and making fun of Nick on his birthday about his limp whatever.
Yeah, I heard something about that.
This is pretty disgusting.
Yeah, I don't follow any of them, and
I try not to, but
I
just think this is the level of class that we are dealing with, though.
No, and that's why I talked to Nina, because
yes,
she's been affected too, and her and I both agreed. All of us agreed that you have the best knowledge of the case, and that and if it ever comes to trial, to where he goes again to trial, that you would be the expert witness in this.
I would be. I would end up being the expert witness. And the thing is what we're witnessing right now, people try to say I'm beating up on an abuse victim. Well, first of all, the records show that she was not an abuse victim. She had a chromosome disorder. I believe that Dee Dee did everything in her power to give Gypsy the most amazing life she ever could, because Dee Dee was very starstruck as a teenager, and Gypsy clearly is as well. We are seeing the developmental delays that are associated with this right in front of our faces by her behaviors that she is exhibiting. And let me explain something. The Forks of the family down there do not fork, and Christy is distantly related to Rod. One of the things about this chromosome disorder is like you know how gremlins, you can't feed them after midnight.
Yeah.
Okay, when I first tell Sarah about this chromosome disorder, this was the night it happened. I was on the phone with her. I found the HBO document. 5 minutes later, Colleen finds this document proving the chromosome disorder. And then she's sending me, after thing that she's researching because, she's a professional. So she goes and looks. And I'm reading this to Sarah. And I'm telling her that there is a portion that states that in a parental, especially in a parental, if two members of the family have this disorder, that they affect each other in negative ways. And she goes, Fancy, did you just tell me that people that have this do not play well with other people that have this? You just told me that they don't play well with others. I said, yeah, that's exactly what I'm telling you. She goes, what are they, fucking gremlins? You can't feed them after midnight? And I'm like, yeah, kind of. So listen, she is in a family that has this. Mia has this. Rod specific. There's indications that Christy, through her facial features and her ears and different things, could be a marker for it. Okay, you have to take the genetic counseling, but that indicates, hey, they don't play well with each other, and you're watching it play out in epic form. And I told them years ago that this was going to happen, and they ignored me. And we're watching an epic fail that is going to happen when the fall from grace happens for this family. I am very frightened for the fallout.
Yeah, and you talking about genetic testing and counseling, we know a little bit about that because Alora actually suffers from a genetic liver disease that my husband and I both carry.
Right.
And so when we found out about it, we had to alert all of the family members and let them know of the results, and so that everybody could be tested and see if they have any of the symptoms. And come to find out, it's considered rare, but it's actually something that people suffer from a lot. They just don't know it until they're older. And we were actually talking to my husband's doctor, and he had said that he had never seen an adult with Alora's disease.
I beat the odds.
With the ZZ phenotype that she has.
I have a disease. It's called alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency, and the type is phenotype.
Yeah.
See, this is a disease that is marked with the TAR disease, the TAR chromosome disorder. It's that region of the chromosome disorder that causes TARS. I think it's TARS. TAR. Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's something that's a little more extensive that she would, causes more things. But it's that it's rare, and it's not even okay. So people are like, it's so rare, it doesn't happen. No, actually, what happens is that it's so rare. It's rare, but it goes undetected because most of them do not show any symptoms that technically, that makes them candidates for looking any further than, hey, their face looks kind of weird. I'm serious. No, their facial markers are very evident in every single one of them, whether or not they have any other symptoms, because you can see it. But you have to know. Otherwise, they just have an interesting looking face. So the facial features is the highest part of this. If you go to the rarechromo.org and you look up the 1Q21.1 microdeletion, make sure you put in microdeletion, because you look up microduplication, it's a whole other thing. Okay. It's very similar, but very different. And explains it. There's a girl on the front of it that people swear is actually Gypsy Rose. It is not. But when you put them side to side, you're going to go, oh shit, I see it. And then you put Mia next to that and you go, oh, no. They all have this. They have it. There's no denying it. You're not in the 75% of people who don't show symptoms. In fact, you're in the her sister is in the 75% range that does not show any other symptoms and facial features. I would say probably Mia is, and probably Nicolette based on their life history, medical history that I know of, at least, But hold on. Yes, we do need milk. I think that Gypsy would fall in this moderate level. That's what we're working on right now, and we're working on doing a study. I'm putting together a team to do a study, especially in this area of Louisiana, to see if there is a big genetic marker for this in that area, you know, and putting together an actual research study, because I think it goes undetected more often than not, and it seems like it's heavily prevalent in this type of structure. And it's not like, oh, it's incest, you know, people are like, oh, it's incest. No. It's a development of, this is the people, this area was settled by a specific amount of people. Those people joined and they got together and they had generations and generations and generations of people, but all the people are distantly somewhere in that region, including Dee Dee, are related to each other. Dee Dee's related to Titania. You know, it's all down in the ancestor of the names. It's not like, oh, they were just messing with their cousins. No. It's how the area was settled and how these families intermingled.
Yeah, I understand that. Living in Missouri.
You're talking about long histories of I mean, what else are you going to do? If only 5 people live here, I mean, we got to populate somehow. What are we going to do? You know, it's a very ancient, it comes from British lore, you know, British history. Keep it in the family, keep the bloodline pure. It's not like you're thinking today, kissing cousins, you know, and no, this is way far down the line. But it is an indication of this, and it can explain some of it. The genetic anomalies happen when things like that are a factor, you know, and they've admitted to being distantly related to each other, you know, and so it makes sense. But like I said, we are looking into doing a study on it, because I really think that more of this goes undetected than anybody would know. And by lying about it, all he's doing is clouding the help that she could get for her children or her nephews and nieces, it's very dangerous what they're doing. And it's all for just, I want to cover up a lie that we've sold, and it was all for money. She said it on in her thing. What was it for? You know, she said it on court, testifying for Nicholas. Financial gain. And it still is today. That's it. Well, ladies, I have to wrap up here, but I'll come back anytime. More questions, send them my way. You know, we are very adamant about getting the truth out about this story. The public has never gotten a truthful picture. And it's never been about revenge or my hatred of Gypsy Rose. In fact, I feel very sorry for her. I wish that she would take the advice of, go get some therapy, baby, go do some genetic counseling with your family, and go live a regular life that you so desperately say you want. Get off of social media, stop selling things to TMZ, and let's frickin', you know, go live your life. Fine, you got away with murder. Take the win. Stop fucking with Nicholas Godejohn. Stop trying to tell lies to the public, because we're just not buying anymore. Your mama put a really good veil over you. That veil has fallen. And you have desecrated your mother's memory. You continue to villainize her, despite the fact that you asked me not to villainize her in an email. But you have you asked me not to. Well, you're doing a damn good job of doing it yourself. And then on top of that, you are 100% silencing the truth and silencing your co-defendant, who deserves a fair trial. And I don't think anything you do anymore is going to stop that from happening. Too many people are on to Mr. Godejohn needs a fair trial. And I will be leading that charge, because I played a very heavy part in crucifying him to the media. And I would like to, you know, officially again apologize for the role that I played when I did not have all of the evidence.
Good for you. That's very admirable to do that.
Well,
all we can do is try and
having
rectify
me. I mean, all
Thank
I can
you.
do is right the wrong that I was a part of, right? I can only set the record straight and show you the proof of what I have. I have the medical records. I have the case files. I've got 8 years of research, and I've got, you know, great great people, professionals on this. And on top of that, I have the personal experience of knowing who these people are directly. So, I mean, if you don't want to listen to me, I mean, you can just call me crazy fancy, but they put me there, folks. And now you're seeing the real work of my 8 years of hell that they put me through, you know, and why they put me through this hell. And they're continuing to do so every day. They tried to take Colleen's license. They've tried to screw with my professional stuff. You know, they've doxed us. They called us a murderer. And there's so many different things that they've done in the last 3 months. I can't even list them all in the pursuit of covering up a lie.
Yep, I know. I've watched it, and you're a strong person to keep going, because sometimes people just can't bear the burden of all the information that they have, and just
It almost
do
got me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it really brought me to the edge several times. My family has been affected by it. But at this point, you know, I look back across the 8 years and finding the chromosome disorder and putting the truth into place and standing 10 toes down and always saying, no, I'm going to get the truth out. That's all I care about is the truth. I don't care what you say about me. I don't care what you do to me. You can do all the damn things to me you want to do, but I'm going to stand here and I'm going to be screaming the truth. And I mean, yeah, it's worth it. Somebody asked me if it was worth it the other day. Today, it's worth it. A month ago, no, it was not worth it. But I found peace. And the chromosome, I've been saying, the chromosome disorder was the missing piece that gave me peace.
Thank God for that.
Thank God for that. All right. Bye, ladies. Have a good one.
Thank you guys so much for both of your time.
Sarah, did you want to say anything else? No. Okay.
Hold on. She might still be there. She takes a minute to get off mute sometimes.
That is A-okay.
Sarah! No? Okay. I'm going to go. She can
Okay,
go
thanks
so much. We appreciate
No
it.
problem. Bye, ladies.
Blessed day.
That's the show for today, everyone. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with an all-new show. And remember, you can listen to us again and again. The podcast of this radio show is available right after we go off the air tonight, anywhere that you can get your podcast episodes. And thanks for joining us today. I'd like to take a moment to talk about something close to my heart. Military Broadcast Radio is doing incredible work to support our veterans and bring their voices to the world. They rely on your generous donations and your dedicated volunteer hours to make it happen. I encourage you to consider supporting NBR in any way, form that you can. Use this QR code that's attached to the picture, or you can go to our website at mbradio.us. That's Mike Bravo Radio.us to learn more about how you can donate or volunteer even just an hour a week from your home. Help make a difference in the lives of our veterans, because once again, we're all here for you and not for us. We're giving our veterans a voice.